Hey, what's up everybody? Nick Underhill for NewOrleans.Football, and you're watching The Dot presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. It's Friday, so that means it's time for another mailbag, and as always, if you are not yet in our private Twitter community, hit one of us up. We'll get you in there. If you are a member of NewOrleans.Football, you can talk to other Saints fans, ask your questions for this, and be part of a growing community online. This week, our first question comes from Trey, who asks, how is the Penning/James Hurst competition going? The battle between James Hurst and Trevor Penning is probably actually a little bit closer than I expected it to be this early in training camp. I thought Penning has looked overall pretty good. He's had some really high moments. There's also been some lows where you see the rawness that he needs to just mature from and become a little bit more of a complete player. And then obviously he just needs to find a way to keep his game in check so that he's not drawing penalties and doing anything outside of the whistle. The stuff inside the whistle, you actually like that maybe he's a little bit agitating, because when they get in the real games and it's a different defense, that's going to knock people off their game. So I think this is actually going to be a pretty interesting battle to watch unfold throughout the preseason. Our next question comes from BC, who asks, how is the quarterback room looking as a whole? Is Ian Book far behind Dalton? I think that we've seen a decent amount of highs from Jameis Winston, definitely more good than bad to this point, but there's also been a couple things that he needs to clean up. Andy Dalton, same thing. I think it's a little bit easier to overlook his mistakes because there really isn't anything at stake when he's throwing the football, but I do think that there is a decent amount of distance between Ian Book and Andy Dalton. I think Andy Dalton's very comfortably in that number 2 spot, and Ian Book is still trying to find his groove, work into a place where he can show people that he can be one day maybe a viable backup quarterback. So he needs to show throughout the preseason that he still has the ability to develop as he moves further on into his career. And our last question comes from Saints to Death, who asks, which camp battle are you most surprised by so far? I don't know if I'm surprised by the battle overall, but I'm surprised by maybe the quality of the battle at cornerback. Everybody there looks like somebody who could be a viable starter for this team. And really, that has been the one thing that has stood out, maybe more than anything else throughout training camp, is just watching how those guys perform every day in camp. That's all we got this week for The Dot. For everything else, keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.